Hi everyone, Nicholas Mofidis here from sunny Cyprus and welcome to today's tutorial. And today we're talking about styles. Not the kind of style that you saw in my thumbnail with my hat and my glasses, but the kind of styles that we see in web pages and websites. Styles which make our web pages look more appealing and more interesting. We're going to learn about the different types of styles that we have. For example, external, internal, inline. We're going to learn about classes, but more importantly, we're going to learn about how we use them, how we include them in our web design, in our HTML code, and what the order of precedence is for each type of style when we have conflicting arguments. So if one style says one thing and the other style says the other thing, well, which one's going to have priority? So the first and most important thing to do is to understand what styles are and how we use them. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, let's understand the three basic layers which are included or which we need for web design. So the first layer is called the structure, or it's sometimes called the data layer. Now, the structure and the data layer, this is basically your HTML code. Okay, so this is what contains all the data that the user is going to see when they visit your web page. They're going to see all this wonderful data which is in there, your text, your images, your videos, all of these things. That's your data or your structure and how your web page is organized. The next layer is your presentation layer. And this is basically what we're focusing on today, because your presentation layer is usually your CSS code. And the CSS code stands for Cascading Style Sheet. The Cascading Style Sheet is what decides how funky, let's say, your web page is going to look. It's going to add color. It's going to add different settings like borders to your tables, your backgrounds, and all these different things. But it also makes it easier for you, especially when you have a website with multiple web pages. This is basically what we're focusing on today, the styles. The last layer, just so that we have a complete tutorial, is essentially your behavior layer. And your behavior layer is things like the code which we put for our web pages, things like JavaScript, and or it could be CSS or any other type of language. And this is the part which decides how your web page is going to respond to human interaction. So when the human being or the visitor who's visiting your web page actually clicks on your web page and clicks on buttons and this, that, the other, what actually happens, how the web page is going to interact with the user, that's the behavior part or the behavior layer. But we're focusing on the presentation. And that brings me to my thumbnail of this video. So here we've got a picture of me. And if we say that this picture is my data or the structure, my web page essentially, and over here, these accessories, the hat and the glasses, this is my style. Actually, I liked myself with the hat, by the way. So if this is my data, then I can apply style to this particular picture and say that for the head, instead of a bald head, we're going to have a hat. And instead of my eyes, I can give myself glasses. And you can say, well, okay, I could have taken a picture with that, but maybe I don't want this all the time. Maybe there are times when I want to, for example, whenever I'm going to put a picture of me, let me see if I can do this easily. Okay, so rather Control C, and I'm going to put myself here again. I get myself again with the same style. Okay, so essentially what I've done, whenever there's a picture of me in any of my web pages, because I have linked this style sheet here with that web page and with that web page and this web page, whenever it sees a picture of me, it gives that style. But if I have a web page which is not linked to this style here, then that's like doing this. This data doesn't have that source, okay? Because this isn't linked. This web page here is not linked to this style here. So this is what styles basically do. I'm able to modify, if I've got many web pages, we'll do one more quick graphic here. If I have many web pages, and this is, let's say, web page 1, this is web page 2. So many web pages to put together, it gives you a site. This is web page 100, for example. And here is your style sheet. This is known as an external style, my CSS. Whenever this is linked to the CSS, it will pull all the information which is in this CSS style sheet, and it will modify these pages here with whatever is declared inside that style sheet. This one over here will not, because it's not linked. So what does that look like? Well, if we have a look at the code, here we go. An external style sheet is declared in the head section of your HTML code. So here's the head section here. And this is my style sheet. This is my CSS code, my CSS style sheet, and it's called styles.css. And here we can see that in the styles.css, I'm actually declaring that the background color of the body is going to be light blue. The font family, or the default font family of the body, is going to be Arial sans serif. The heading 1 is going to have a color of dark blue. And I've got these settings here for body, H1, and the paragraph tag. This style sheet is linked to this web page here in this line of code. Okay, and we can see here is that link, the href link, which is calling styles.css. So we attach an external style sheet in the very, very beginning of our HTML source code in the head section, and that's that line there. Okay, that's fine. Now we can go have a look at what an internal style is. So this was an external style sheet. This is here is an external. That's an external style sheet. Okay, and now we're going to have a look at the internal style sheets. So here we can see, again, inside the head section. So my head section now begins from here, and it goes all the way down to here. There's my head section, down to there. That's the head. This is before the body section of my web page. So this is before my data. So up here, I can see I've got my external style sheet linked here. All right. So you can have a mixture of external and internal and inline. But notice that my external, although my external link to my style sheet is right at the top, underneath, I've now got this thing here, the style. I've added another style tag inside the head section. And here it says that my style for the background color, again, is light blue, so on and so forth. And I can now modify inside. So irrespective, let's say inside this style sheet, it said that the background color, let's say inside this style sheet, it said BG color equal to red. Okay. Here, the body color says it's light blue, the background color. So what color will it be? Here I'm going to have conflicting arguments. The style sheet says that the background color is red, but the internal style says that it's light blue. Well, the result is going to be light blue. The reason why is because internal styles have precedence over external styles. This is why it's extremely important when we're adding internal styles in the head section, we must be careful to declare them after the external. So this one here, let me just show you again. This is the external in the head section. And then in the head section, I declared this part here, which is the internal styles inside the style tag. It comes after the external. The reason why, because these are called CSS or cascading styles. That's what the C stands for in CSS, cascading. Cascading means that it will do whatever comes in this line first, then it will do what's in this line, then the next one, then the next one. So the last line or the last argument has priority. So this first line here, as it starts reading the code from top to bottom, it says the background color is red, and then it gets an argument saying the background color is light blue. This is the last thing it saw, so the background color is going to be light blue. So order of precedence right now is internal style, then followed by external. So external styles have less priority than internal. Now we're going to have a look at inline styles. So here are my inline styles. And if we analyze this page here now, we can see we have here, let's get rid of that. We have here my external style, again, declared in the head section right at the top. Here's my head section there. Then here I've got my style, my internal styles declared after the external style. There it is there. Okay. And now we have below in the body section, we have our internal styles. So where are they? Here they are here. So here we're saying that the color, for example, H1, I've added an internal style, and it says that the color here is red for H1, and it's aligned to the center. So let's see the order of precedence. Let's say H1 inside the external style said it was blue. Then let's say this one here was actually heading 1. Let's say that was a heading 1, not a heading 2. Okay. And here it says the color for heading 1 is green. So with the cascading rule that we said, the first one that's executed is line number 7, which is my external style here. So H1 will be blue. Then it goes down to here. It sees line number 11. That comes after line number 7. It says it's green. So now it's going to be green. And then down here, it says that H1 is red. So the last thing that it reads is heading 1 equals red. So heading 1, this particular heading 1 is going to be red font. So now we can see that inline styles have precedence over internal styles, which have precedence over external styles. Okay? Classes. What is a class? Well, in this case, a class is a style or a group of styles, and we give the name. Let's say I declared a class here inside my style. I basically give it a name. So this particular one here controls the P tag. Okay, so anything which has a P tag here will be affected by this internal style. Let's say I don't want to affect the P tag. I only want to apply a particular style to different parts that I want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my own class. So I don't just want to modify heading 1, heading 2, the background color, the standard HTML tags. I want to modify specific things, a group of things, or a selection of text or whatever. So what I can do this. I can call this my Nick style. So I'm going to put a dot. That's what declares it's a class. And I'm going to call this Nick. ST for style. Nick style. And I'm going to say that this is going to be font color. So I'm just going to put font color equals, I'm just going to say pink here, although I'll put the code, say pink. And align equals center. And then I close that. So this class here, Nick ST, I can declare, I can select a piece of text here, for example, and give that the class Nick ST, and that will modify this piece of text to be pink with an align of center. And that's what we can see. And we can declare classes either globally in the external style sheet. And why do I say globally? I say globally because these, if I declare a class in here, in this style sheet here, then the class, let's say I called it Nick ST, then I will be able to call this class in this web page because it's linked to that style. I'll be able to call it in this web page because it's linked to that. I will not be able to see it in this web page because this is not linked to that style. Okay, so I can create the class and call it from the different web pages. I can, however, if I did want to, I could declare it internally in my head section up here, and I can create my style tag here and declare my class Nick ST and put the parameters there and close the style. And here now, that style will only be available and will only be seen in this web page because it's an internal class. Just like an internal style, it lives locally within the web page. An external style sheet, like this one, can be seen by all the web pages which are linked to it, and inline styles, which are embedded as arguments in a tag, let's say the H1 tag, we include, let's say, color equals red. These are seen inside the individual web pages. Okay, so I think that's a lot of information for you. I hope you've understood the purpose of styles. We've understood external style sheets, internal styles, inline styles, and what a class is. And you should also have understood by now the precedence, which argument will override which argument depending on where it is in the cascading order from top to bottom. And the rule is this. So just to show that rule, we have, first of all, priority. We always list external style sheets in the head section at the top. We always list any styles that we got internal styles after the external. So if we have an external style, then we need to list the styles, the internal styles after that one. Okay. And then inline styles, they're going to be added as arguments to our tags in the body. All right, let's go see an example now of a web page which has got styles included. So I've got this one here. This now is a web page with no styles attached to it. It's got a heading 1 up here. It's got heading 2 here, font declared as heading 2, so it's got the default fonts. Then I attached an external style sheet, and that looks like this. We can now see I've got a gray background which has been called in. We've got blue writing, larger font for the heading 1, red writing for heading 2, and we've got blue borders, internal and external borders. And then I've got internal styles and inline styles on the same thing, which are overriding the external, and we can see that here. I've got now the heading 1 being overridden by this purpley font. Heading 2 here is a green font. Heading 2 here is a pink font with capital letters, all capitalized, and my external border is red. So this is what styles do. Okay, and we're going to be using this web page as an example. Now, a quick note, you can download these web pages and all the resources, which I'm going to have in this video, in the bottom of the description as a zip file, because this web page has actually got information, everything that I've shown you here with the pictures that you can download and you can use as a resource. It actually explains what styles are, what external styles are, internal styles, inline styles, and the order and priority. All right, so let's now go and see how we can implement these styles to a HTML document. Okay, so the first thing is, let's check and make sure we've got all the files that we need. And I've got all my files inside this one folder, as we should do for any particular web page. Here's my web page, the HTML file here, and the images which this web page calls. And this is the web page which I used at the beginning of this tutorial to show examples about how we're going to be applying styles, what styles are, the external, internal, inline styles. And I gave you some examples of this particular web page being modified by the different styles which I'm going to be creating. So we're going to be using this webpage. As I said, this is a fantastic resource for students, educators as well. It's got some nice information here about style, so feel free to use it. So I'm going to close this, and the first thing that we're going to do is to open this web page inside Expression Web. So first step, I'm just going to go down to here, Expression, there it is. And here's Expression Web for me. Let's just close whatever default it's opened up. Now, this is my layout. In fact, I'm going to open this up first. So I'm going to go to File, Open, go to my desktop. That's where I've got my files. It's in here, the Expression folder, and here's my page. So this is my setup for Expression Web. So let's just have a quick look at this. On the left-hand side here, we got our tag properties. Now, this shows me all the properties, or I can add tag properties to any tag, whether it's the body, the H1, H2, table, TD. I can add different properties here. So if I click on the H1 tag here, or the H2, or the paragraph tag here, there are different properties here that I can add to it. Okay. So this is the table. Again, this has changed. It's showing me that I've already got this tag property here with 90% for the table. And that's really, really useful when it comes to being able to modify the properties of those tags. The next one I've got on the right hand side is the manage styles. This is an excellent one, especially when you're working with styles, because this is where you can modify your style rules. You've got the new style button and the attach style sheet button here. It's actually a really fantastic window because you can see all the styles that you've got open. You can open them and modify them from that window. At the top, I've got my ribbon, and if I right click on here, you can see I've got the common, the style, and the style application. And you can add more of these. I tend to go through them when I'm looking for something and just enable them or disable them. For example, you can like click on pictures. There it is there. And if you don't want it anymore because it's taking up space, just right click and just get rid of that one. I do like this common one up here because it's got formatting for text up here. It's got the table. It's got images, hyperlinks, and over here it actually shows you which tag you're actually in. So if I click on this one here, which is a H2, we can see that's the heading 2 tag. And I can modify that property and add, let's say, make that a H3, okay, very easily. So that's a nice little toolbar at the top there. Okay, the next step is, this is a split view. So at the bottom, we've got the design, the split, and the code view. I'm going to be working on split view so I can see how my styles are going to be affecting my web page. So I've got the preview here. But I'm also going to be viewing it as it changes. I'm going to be refreshing my browser and seeing what that actual web page looks like in a browser. Okay, so that's my setup. So the other thing that I did do, so if you want to get rid of everything and just have this set up, then again, you can go to your panels here. So I've only got the tag properties and the manage styles ticked here. And the other thing that I did do was go to Tools, Page Editor Options, and then from here, I went to the CSS tab and I made this the manual style application and changed all of these into inline styles. It just makes it so much easier to work with rather than having Expression just generating new styles. Every time you do something, it would be generating new styles. So this actually prevents that. Okay, so let's begin. I want this to be a complete tutorial, so I'm going to be creating my external style sheet. The first thing we're going to be looking at is external style sheets, and I'm going to create it from scratch. And I'm going to add all the styles in that external style sheet so that we can see how we can add the different styles to a style sheet as well. So to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, New. From New, I'm going to choose CSS. This has opened up my CSS page. I'm going to save this straight away, File, Save As, and I'm already inside, am I? No, I'm not. I'm just going to go to my desktop and just make sure I'm in the same folder as everything else. I'm just going to call this Style 1. Okay, so first step, let's go create a new style. So there's two ways of doing this with this setup that we have here. The first one is up here. So we've got this button here which says new style, or we can go over here to our manage styles and we can go to new style. In either case, you're going to get this fantastic dialog box, which I think is really, really great, really easy to use, and I do like this interface. So the first thing is, what are you going to be creating? So here's my selector. Now automatically it starts with a new start and it's got that little dot in the front. That's a class. I don't want to create a class. So if you want, you can click on the drop down list box and you can go find the tag that you want, okay, or the selector that you want, or you can simply start typing from here. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be the body tag. So if I'm not sure, I can just start type B and then click here and it starts from the B and I can find the one I want, body. Or you could just type the word that you want, body, and just carry on from there. But if it is a selector, which is a standard selector like body, H1, table, TRTD, it's best that you do actually choose it from here, just in case you make a spelling mistake. So I'm just going to put BO and then go down here. There it is, body, and just make sure I spelt it correctly. All right, straight away, these are default. It says defining the current page. Well, the current page is the style1.css. So that's okay. And this is down here is where we're going to set the properties. So for this particular one, I'm going to set the body background. So you can see all the different categories here. These categories are the same for all the styles that you've got. You just choose which one that you want to put. For example, I want the background. I'm going to click on the background here, background color, and I'm just going to choose a gray color. You can go to custom from here and just choose your own custom colors from here. Click OK, and that's going to give you the hex code here, the value. I'm just going to use here. I've never used the hashtag directly into this, so let's see if this works. So I'm just going to put hashtag and put in my own hexadecimal value. Hashtag 2, 3, 4, 6, and let's see what that gives me. Does that give me a color? Yes, it does. So you can put the hexadecimal code directly into, and there you go. It will actually put the format here for you, but you can type it out with the hashtag and put the color. So I'm going to have that gray background. I'm going to click OK, and there's my CSS style. Really easy, really quick. And what else I can see from here straight away over here, my manage my styles window over here, I can see the style that I've got. I can right click on this and modify it and make changes if I want to. Okay, the next one we're going to do is going to be the H1 tag. So again, I'm going to go to here. I'm going to click on new style. I'm going to get rid of that dot from the beginning. I'm going to type H. Let's just scroll down and just select the one that we want, heading. And I'm going to use a font family, a sans serif family. Okay, I don't like the fact that I can't actually see all of this line here. I have to actually click on it to see it. But I'm going to be using a sans serif family. So I'm just going to choose, let's say, this one here. Okay, and from here you can actually modify it from here. I prefer to modify in the style sheet itself, so I'm just going to leave that for now. I've just chosen one that's got a sans serif font, and then from there I'm going to make this a size. This is H1. I'm going to make this 0.22 pt, and I want a red color. So I can put here red, or I can choose it from here. There it is, FF0000. Click OK and OK, and there's my tag. I'm going to modify the font from here. So I'm going to use, for example, Arial, Helvetica, and if that's not available, sans serif. So I'm going to delete all of these ones. I'm going to type Arial, comma, Helvetica. It's just so much easier to work from here. Now, remember, if a font has got a space, so if I'm going to say Helvetica New, that's what it was, and that's got a space in it, I need to put that in speech marks. So I'm going to just leave that there just so you see what that looks like. Okay, so if you do have a space in the name of the font, you have to put it in speech marks. There's heading 1. Now, heading 2, I'm not going to repeat myself and just do the same thing all over again. So what I'm going to do, I've got the code over here. I'm just going to paste it here. So heading 2, font family, Times New Roman Times, and it's a serif font, 18 points, and the color here is going to be red. In fact, I don't want red. The first one, heading 1, I'm going to change to blue. Okay, so I want 2 different colors so they can actually show. There we go. And yes, perfect. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some efficient programming techniques. So remember, when we've got multiple properties which are common over the 2 different tags or 2 different selectors, then we can group those things together. So the ones I'm going to group is going to be the external lines and the internal lines of our table. I want them to be solid, and I want them to be 2 points, and I want all of them to be blue. Okay, so in that case, I'm just going to click on New Style, and there's a number of ways you can do this. So because I want this for the table and the TD, I can type here table, comma, TD. and modify. Let's just say I click OK here. There you go. Can you see it's put the style, both of those there for me? Or I could just create it for the table and then add the TD later. It's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to write table. Let's just make sure that's the correct one. Table, correct. And what I want to do is to make it 2-point solid. So that's going to be the border. I'm going to go to the border properties. All the borders, the top, right, bottom, and left are going to be the same. I want it to be a solid line down here. I want the thickness of the line to be 1 pt, 1 point. And for the border color, again, I want all of them, the top, right, bottom, and left. I'm going to want them all black. So you can see here that you are, click on that. So you can change the color of the left, the right, the top, and the bottom border and have them different colors if you want. Okay, so that's the first one. And I'm going to click on OK. And in this case, because I want the TD as well, I'm simply going to click here and type TD. Now, this is just my preference. I prefer modifying directly in the style sheet rather than doing everything from the dialog box. But again, this is your preference. The next one is I'm going to modify the table tag, the unique properties for tables. So I'm just going to click on another style. I'm going to type table. And this time what I want to do, I want border collapse. So for that, I'm going to go to the table. Now, again, if you're looking for something you don't know where it is, it's going to be in one of these categories here. So just go through them. The category names are pretty good. So you should be able to narrow it down and find what you're looking for quite quickly. So here's my border collapse. And I'm going to make it separate. So the lines are separate. And you're going to see what I mean by that in a second. So essentially, when you've got two cells together, you've got one cell here and one cell here. The border of the cell, each cell has got its own border. So if it's separate, then you're going to have two lines, just like that. One line for this cell, one line for that cell, giving you a double line here. If you collapse them, then it's going to be one line. If you separate them, they'll show two. So we'll see that in a second. And you can always set what the border spacing is. So if you want a bigger spacing, then you can increase the spacing from here. Okay. Click on apply. What else I want to do? I want to put, I also want to make my table align to the center of the page. So if I just click on OK for here, I just want to show you the page that I've got. Where is it? So if I open this, just so we can see, so you can see this isn't aligned to the center. This is this table here is 90% of the window, and I've got this white space over here. So currently my table, my home page, is aligned to the left-hand side. So what we want to do is to bring that in the middle. Now, if I've got a table which is 90% of the window, that means I've got 10% left over. I can make it 5% and 5% on the left or 5% on the right, or I can make it automatic and hopefully that works. So either case, you're going to test it and see how it looks like in your browser. So let's give the automatic a go. So from here, I'm just going to click on my table. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to modify style. And then from here, I'm going to go to position. No, that's not it. I want the box. There you go. So here's my margin. So if I remove that from here and I say that the right is going to be automatic and the left is going to be automatic, now it should, if I click on apply, it should say the left and right margin automatic. If I click on apply and OK, why don't we have a look and see if that would work, to be honest. Let's save it and have a look at it. Was the correct way to do this, guys. So whenever you make a modification, you should be able to go and have a look at it and make sure whatever style you've added is actually being implemented. And if it's not, you can go back and see what's wrong. So I'm going to attach it. I'm going to show you now how to attach the style sheet. So from my web page, I'm going to go from here, and we've got in our manage styles the attach style sheet here, or from the class ribbon at the top, that toolbar at the top, you've got your attached style sheet here. Either way, exactly the same thing. The interface is exactly the same. So browse, I'm going to go find my style. Here it is here. Click OK. And there we go. We can see I've got the background and that all works. If I just do file save, to save my web page, just click on OK. I'm going to reload. And look at that. Can you see by making the left and the right margin automatic, it has determined that you've got 10% margin. 10% of the window is the margin. And by making it automatic, it will automatically split that into two, put half of that on the left, half of that on the right. You could also have put it 5 and 5, but I do find using automatic better because as your window size changes, as you can see that, my table stays in the middle and the margin on the left and the right is exactly the same. All right, perfect. So we can continue with that. Let's go back to our style 1. So I'm going to add the P tag. So the P tag, if we have a look at our web page, and this is really important, let's just have a look at this here. So you're going to see here that this particular paragraph is contained, let's select that, is contained in these P tags, this paragraph tag. Can you see that? So you've got the open paragraph and the closed paragraph there. This paragraph, however, is not contained in the paragraph tag. And you can say, well, what's the difference? It looks exactly the same. Well, in some respects, it looks the same. But this first paragraph is the style of it is being controlled by the P tag. So if I modify the P tag and make changes to it, then when I save my style sheet, this paragraph is going to be edited, whereas this paragraph is not going to be edited because it's not being affected by that P tag. So the next one we're going to do is go and do that P tag. So I'm just going to go add the style. We're going to add the style for the P tag, get rid of that dot, remember. And I'm just going to make this. So if we go to our font family, we can do, what do we have here? Font variant. We're going to make this all small caps and we're going to do the font. I won't do the italic. I'll do the font weight into bold. Okay. And I will leave the font. Oh, what should we do for a font? I don't know. Let's just make it a plain Arial font. Actually, let's make it a sans serif font. There you go. Just this one here. Arial Helvetica sans serif font. Apply. And click OK. So now that P tag is being affected. And we can see here, can you see this paragraph now is in small caps, whereas this one isn't, because this one has got the P tag controlling its style. Okay, so we've got that tag there, and we are applying properties through the external style sheet. Now, how do we know that we've applied that external style sheet? Well, the external style sheet we can see is in the head tag of your page, and here it is here. That's where the head closes. That's where the head opens. So it's given us this meta tag already by default. I didn't enter that. This was already entered when I made my page in Expression Web. I can get rid of it. It's not needed. But sometimes these default things are quite useful because they ask you to add the language to be either English US or English UK. And by having that there, you can just modify that property there. This is the title of my page, which I put Understanding CSS Styles. And here's my link. My href is style1.css. That's how we know that the style has been attached to this web page. And anything else that I'm going to add later on, we're going to look at internal styles. These are also going to go in the head section. Okay, so I'm just going to put a space, put a space there just so that kind of sticks out. Okay, so there's the head section here from here to here. And here is my style, my external style sheet. Okay, so we've done the P tag as well. What else do we want to do? Now, what I haven't done is I haven't created a class. So I'm going to create a class for you as well. Okay, now I'm going to explain what the class does in a short while, but I'm going to create it now and then we'll see how it works. So I'm just going to click here and I'm just going to call this first class. So I'm going to click on new style again. But this time, I'm going to leave that dot. And I'm going to call this Nick CLS1. So Nick class 1. And here, I'm just going to change the font color. So from the font, I'm going to go to the color. I'm just going to make this a green color. Okay, I can modify any one of these properties in a class. You can just add as much as you want. In fact, why don't I make it bold as well? So if we do font and make that font weight, we'll do it bold. So green and bold. And I'm going to click on apply. Now, we can see here is my class. I know it's a class. It's got that dot right next to it, and it's got a name which I gave it. All of these other styles here, the P, the table, the H2, H1, the body, All of these things, these are tags that actually exist, and these are tags that we can actually see inside our HTML code. So whenever we modify the style of one of those tags, and this external style sheet is linked to a web page, then those tags will change according to the rules in that external style sheet. So you can see here, H1 now is a big blue font. Okay, it is a sans serif font, 22 size. Heading 2 is a red font, a smaller size. Here we've got the P tag, is all capitals. So all of this has changed. My background has changed. All of this has changed because we've modified the properties for those tags. We don't actually have a tag which is called Nick class 1 or Nick CLS1. That's a class. So how do we actually use those? So if we look here, let's say this one here now is being affected by heading 2. So this has got the heading 2 style. You can see that here. And heading 2 in my external style sheet says it's a Times New Roman, Times or serif font, 18 points, red. Okay, so whenever I got that H2, that's the style it's going to give it. But now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select this text, or I'm just going to click inside the H2. And now what I want to do, I want to apply my class style to this. So where do we find that? Well, remember these ribbons that we've got up here? We've got the class right here. And I can just click here where it says class, click on the drop-down list box. And because I've created the class, because that class is in the external style sheet is linked to this web page, it displays my class. And if I select it, there you go. That text now is green. And for the H2, it says it's using Nick class 1. So why is it using class 1 and not making H2 red? Well, that's because style sheets are cascading. Whatever command comes last, that is the command that has priority. So initially here, it reads the text H2. H2 in the style sheet says it's a red font. And then it says use the property class Nick class 1. So it reads that after it has read the H2 property. So it then says, well, what's the Nick class 1 property where it says green and bold font? So that's what's going to be added. So when it comes to styles, whatever is read last, so first of all, it reads the code cascading from top to bottom, from top left to right, and then next line, left to right, next line, just like we read the book. So we read from the left and move over to the right, and then we move down the next line. That's the order of precedence we read. So the last thing we read is the last thing that stays in our mind. And that's the same with the thing with cascading style sheets. So it first read that this is H2. It says, that's red font. Then it says, no, you're going to use this class here. This class says it's a green font. So it's green. Okay. And we're going to see this again later when we apply internal styles. Okay, so we've added a class. We've added an external style sheet. That's all pretty clear, I think. We've got our borders. Let's just go have a preview. So I'm just going to go to File, Save, and just click OK there to update. And I'm going to reload this. Okay, the one thing I haven't seen here is the color of my borders for my internal and external borders. So let's just go see what we did there. Go to our style 1, TD border. So this is border. I made it black. Okay, I'm going to make this blue. Okay, so I'm just going to change my table, my internal and my external borders to a blue color. Control S, and now it should. Where are we? There you go. Now they're blue. Control S, and if I load this, now my borders are blue. There you go. And they are border separate. Can you see between these two, this cell here, this TD and this TD, we see these two lines, this double line. That means the border is separate. Let me show you what it's like if it's collapsed, just so you get the idea. Okay, so if I go back to here, I change my style. I'm going to go to this one here where it says borders are collapsed for the table. Click on the table selector, go over here, right click, modify that style. And I'm going to go to table, and this time I'm going to say collapse. Click apply, okay. Control S to save. And now when I reload this, Look at that. Can you see? There's only one line separating each cell. Okay, perfect. So let me just change that back because I'm going to modify that in an internal style later. So I'm just going to undo that. File save, Control S to save, and just check that that's been applied. There we go. Great, fantastic. Okay, so that is external styles. We have seen where the external style is linked in our web page. It's in their head section at the top, and we can see this link here. Now we're going to move on to internal styles, and we're going to understand a little bit more about the priority of styles when we have conflicting arguments. Okay, so internal styles are essentially exactly the same thing as an external style sheet. In other words, the way we set them up is exactly the same. The only difference is we add them inside the head section, but instead of adding a link to a file which contains the styles, we list them here. Now, what's really important here, guys, is this. The order of precedence is inline styles, internal styles, and then the least important is going to be the external style sheet. So the internal styles have a higher priority than the external style sheet that we attached. So if you do have an external style sheet attached to your web page and you are going to apply internal styles as well, then you have to place your internal styles after this, after the declaration or the call for your external style sheet. So it has to come after it. Remember, it's cascading. So whatever comes last is what has priority. So before we add anything inside the head section, let's go and create the styles that we want for the internal styles. So to do this, I'm going to go to File, New. I'm just going to create a new blank CSS. I'm not going to bother saving it because I don't want to save it as a file and link it to my web page. I just want to use it to create my styles. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create these styles here. Now, I'm not going to create them again from the beginning. So I'm just going to copy them over. I've got some styles over here. So the first one I'm going to add is going to be a heading 1. So we essentially just add them exactly the same as before. The only difference now is here I'm saying that heading 1 is this font style and the color is this. So if we just have a look at modify that style, see it's this purpley color. Okay, where initially in the external style sheet we said that it's blue. Okay, the next one that I'm going to add is going to be the border for the table. So here it is there. So here I'm saying that my table, the border color for the table, although initially my style sheet, my external style sheet, I said that the border is blue. Here I'm saying that this border is going to be more of a red color, is it? Let's have a look. Let's go to modify style. So border, I've got, yeah, it's a red color. Okay, so instead of blue, it's going to change it to red. And that's the external border because it's only the table tag or the table selector I'm modifying. Now, the next one that I've got here, I'm actually going to modify a little bit. I'm going to show you how to do this. This is going to be the LI tag. So if we have a look at our web page, I've actually got down here a list. And that list here is using numbers with a dot. So I'm just going to modify the internal style to use a different type of list style. So to do that, I'm just going to click here. I'm going to click on the new style. I'm going to choose here. Now, this is the style LI that I want to modify. So I want to go and find that LI tag. There it is there. And the LI is for the list tag. And I'm going to click on list and I'm going to say the list style type. You can choose which one you want. So whether it's a circle, a square, if it's a disk, I'm going to use lower Roman. Yeah, let's do lower Roman numerals. Okay, and you can of course modify the color, the style. Let's just leave that for now. Okay, so let's just do the lower Roman numeral and click on apply. Click OK. So here's my internal style, and what I'm going to do here again, I'm also going to add one more thing. I'm going to add a class. So we've got a class in an external style sheet, but I'm also going to show you how to add a class in the internal styles. You do it exactly the same way as before. I'm going to click on new style. I'm going to leave the dot this time. I'm going to call this Nick CLS2. And I'm just going to say that the font color for this, font colors are easy to work with. I'm just going to choose this pinky color here, and I'm just going to make it bold as well. So what it's going to apply to, I don't know. We'll see wherever I decide. Click on apply and click OK. So here's my 3 selectors with their modified properties and my class. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to copy that, go to my HTML code, go to the head section up here, and I'm going to make sure I click underneath the link for my external style sheet, and I'm going to place the style attribute or the style tag. Style tag, there it is there. Can you see it's found it? If I double click on it there, I'll just close that. And now in between the open style tag and the close style tag, I'm going to click and paste my internal styles. Okay. These are my internal styles. Now you're going to see something here. Remember, my internal style says here that it is supposed to be this purpley color. Look what happens as soon as I click on my web page. I think it should. Look at that. Can you see it's changed? This is now that purpley color. The border around my table is now red. What else do I have? And look, my list now has got lower Roman numerals. Okay. And so why did they change? Well, we said styles have precedence and internal styles have precedence over external styles. So what this is saying is that if here in my external style sheet, it initially says that heading 1 should be blue, then it comes to the next line down here, line 16, which was, sorry, line 17, where it says heading 1 should now be a purple color. So that's what's going to happen. So what do you think is going to happen if I take this link to my external style sheet, cut it, and place it after the style tag? Watch this. As soon as I click over here, can you see now that my external style has precedence over my internal style? The borders are both blue. The table borders are blue. My heading 1 is blue. My Roman numerals are my listed Roman numerals. Why? Because I didn't modify the LI tag in the external style sheet. Okay, but if I had and I said this was, let's say, a disk, it will display a disk. This is why it's extremely important, guys, when you're adding internal styles, they come after, so let me just cut that, after your external style sheet link, okay? Otherwise, your order of precedence will be messed up and you won't get the presentation of your web page as you want. All right, I'm just going to click on Save, Control S. I'm going to preview this here by reloading, and there we go. The last thing I haven't showed you is how do I use the class in my internal style sheet. So here I've got this internal style here, Nick class 2, but how do I call it? Well, exactly the same way. My external style sheet has got a class, Nick class 1, and we found it up here because the web page actually calls it. But now you can see I've also got Nick class 2 because this web page has also found Nick class 2. So if I wanted to use that, so here is Nick class 1 that was green. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to just change that to the class Nick class 2. And now it's got that pink color. Okay. And if I was to make this one here Nick class 2, then that would change as well. So can you see the beautiful thing about creating classes? You can use them again and again and again, whenever and wherever you want. Here's another example. Let's say I just want to modify this text here. And I don't want to add another tag. I don't want to put it in a p tag. I don't want to do this, that, yeah. I just want to modify that text. I can select it and choose a Nick class 2. And it will modify it with that style. So we can use those classes whenever and wherever we want. Now, how it applies it, because it doesn't apply it in a tag, is here. It actually uses the span tag, and the span means from here all the way to where the span ends, it will have this property. In other words, it's calling Nick class 2. Okay, so last thing left now is inline styles. Okay, so inline styles are the final thing that can modify the presentation layer of your web page. And that's because the inline styles are placed within the tag and modify the tag properties directly in the tag. So if we have a look at this paragraph here, we said is encased in the P tag. Okay, so the P is a tag, and we can put properties in this tag. So if I want to put, so right now this P tag is being affected by style 1 because we said that the P tag looks like this. Okay, so that's being inherited into your web page through the link where we've attached our external style sheet. We could also have another P tag in the internal styles here, which is going to modify to make it look different. And that would override whatever is declared in the external style sheet, because the web page is going to say, oh no, well, it was this. Well, now you want this. So wherever I see a P tag, I'm going to modify it to look like that. Well, now you've got the individual tag itself. So instead of modifying all the P tags with a property which is for all the P tags, you can actually modify the properties for that particular P tag. So if I click inside that P tag there, and then I'm going to go to here, new style, I'm going to, instead of a new tag, new class, or using a tag, I'm going to choose inline style. Okay, and this is going to be a style that's going to be put inside that tag. I'm just going to say make the color. What should we do? Let's do this pinky color, so say. There we go, and click on OK. And you can modify other things as well. So I can say, for example, let's make the font size also a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make it say 14 points, okay, and click OK. Now, the fact that the external style sheet is applying small capitals, that's fine, okay, because I'm not creating a conflicting argument here. Okay, if I didn't want to have small caps here, then I could go here to the variant and say normal. We can try that in a second. So if I click on apply and OK, there we go. So where is the inline style? Can you see now in the P tag up here, it's got the command here, style. So it's using the style attribute inside the P tag, and then it's giving the values for that attribute, the color and the font size. Now, if I want to modify this, all I have to do is this. If I click inside the P tag, remember our setup has got our tag properties. Well, this is the P tag. And what I want to do, when as soon as I go here now, I can see the properties for that P tag, that particular P tag. And so if I click on that, there you go, on the three dots, we can now see it's opened up the properties for that style. And let's say I want the font variant now to be normal. I'm going to click on OK, and look at that. It's now normal writing with that color. So remember, the attributes over here on the left-hand side, these are really useful. If you click on any tag, you can actually see all the properties you've given to that tag, and you can modify it by clicking on the dot, dot, dot. So we'll leave that. Let's have a look at our table style. So for the table, if I just right click, if I click on the table, there it is there. Now for the table, we've got the style equals width 90%. So that is an inline style. You could have written this like this. Width equals to, and the speech marks 90%. Now some people argue and say, if I just click on that, that's fine, that works. Some people argue, I've got too many speech marks, let me just get rid of those ones. Argue that this is not an inline style because it's not using the style attribute. Well, they are wrong. This is an inline style because it directly modifies the tag, the table tag. It's a inline style which was used in older versions of, let's say, HTML coding, and is still quite widely used, but it is I'm not going to say frowned upon. It's more popular and it's more widely used now to use the more modern style, which is the CSS inline style, which is what we looked at here. Okay, so that format there is the more modern version of creating an inline style, but just writing the width of the property, the attribute width and equal 90%, that is also an inline style. Nobody can argue with that. Let me show you about adding inline styles, something which is very popular in the examinations when they tell you to add the width or use inline styles to set the width of the picture and make sure it maintains the aspect ratio using inline styles. So here's my picture. And we can see this command line. We can see this line here for the image tag. So this is the IMG tag. This here, all of this here is inline styles. It's not using the style tag, but it is an inline style because it's directly modifying the IMG tag. So I'm going to get rid of this property here, width, that one there. So this is an inline style. It's setting the width. I haven't declared the height, so the height will generate automatically based on the width. Although it's an inline style, I can get rid of that. I can, there you go. So there you go. My picture is now at the full size. I can click on my picture. I can go to new style. So as long as I'm in the image tag here, I can go here, create a new style. I'm going to choose a new inline style. And for the position, I'm going to change the width to, say, 250 pixels. Click apply, click OK. And now we can see it's automatically placed the newer CSS style of inline styles. Okay, so you can create inline styles for any tag you want. This is the newer version. These are also acceptable. These are also inline styles because they directly affect the tag. Wow, that was a big tutorial. So what you should have learned in this tutorial right now is that we've got three types of styles. We've got our external, our internal, and we've got our inline styles. The order of priority is the inline styles, then the internal styles, and then the external style sheet. And we need to place them, especially the external and the internal styles, we need to place them in the head section, and we need to put the least priority above and the highest priority below it. Okay, very, very important. We learned about classes and what's the purpose of a class and how we can use it, and we can call it whenever we want really easily just by going to the class section at the top, in the ribbon at the top, selecting the tag that we want and applying to the class. I hope you've learned something new. I hope you've understood styles and how they're used and their priority. And if you have, you know the drill. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.